Hello, very good morning. Welcome along to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1 and Virgin Media Play.
Oh, I jumped on you there, and so I'm raring to tell people what we have coming up today. It is Wednesday, the 23rd of October, and it's lovely to have you with us. Here's some of what we've got coming up this morning.
Well, first off, a new report on the Road Safety Authority has found that they will have to raise prices of driving and NCT tests. Would you be happy to see that? To see these tests being on top of everything else that we're paying for, to see your driving tests go up in price? 0896 111 111, let us know what you think.
Yeah, these are proposals that have been put in place because it's in a hole at the minute. Also coming up, tech guru Elaine Burke will be telling us about the new online safety code for video sharing platforms and much more in tech news. That's at 7:45.
And we're going to find out about a new mentorship programme to help teenage girls navigate the challenges of adolescence. That's at 8:15.
Yeah. Alan, what else do we have coming up today?
Well, the lovely Susie Lee is in the kitchen this morning, and we're going to find out what an emotional vampire is and how to protect yourself from them without covering yourself in garlic. Yeah, that's true. That's coming up a little later on. Now, Deric's in Kilkenny this morning. Deric, what's happening in Kilkenny?
Well, ahead of our trip to Cork tomorrow, we've landed here in County Kilkenny, and it is a drawing set to start the odd light shower there into eastern areas, but holding pretty steady and decent out there today with that mixture of cloud cover and some nice sunshine. So looking good out there for your Wednesday, the 23rd of the month. Now, beautiful Kilkenny City is where we're at this morning, not only famed for its Catla Festival, but also for its food festival. Savour Kilkenny is up and running 16 years, so we're going to be catching up with some local producers. We're going to be giving yoga a go, and I believe we're going to be eating while we're on the mat. Don't ask me, but we're up to something. We're always up to something. Good morning from Kilkenny, guys.
Is the type of yoga.
There you go.
I like the sound of.
Sign me up. I can eat and do exercise.
I knew you'd like that, Tommy.
I'll be down to Kilkenny very shortly, Deric. Good stuff. Look forward to that a little bit later on. Yoga and food, dream.
Welcome back. Now, yesterday, TUSA said it alerted Gardaí to a significant concern about missing child Kyron Dernan last August, as a search continues at the former Dernan family home today.
Join us after the break as we discuss that story and the other stories making this morning's headlines. That's coming up next.
Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at this morning's papers. We're starting with the Irish Times. The headline there: Kinahan leader gave names to UK police over guns. Thomas Bomber Kavanagh, the Irishman who led the Kinahan cartel's British operation, gave a list of names to the UK's National Crime Agency of Irish criminal and paramilitary figures in County Down that he suggested may have owned guns his gang had secretly planted.
The Star leads with the same story. Its headline: Kick up the arsenal. Desperate Kinahan boss Thomas Bomber Kavanagh had a further 3 years lobbed onto his existing drug trafficking sentence after his weapons plot to secure a lesser sentence spectacularly backfired.
Now, a different story. Employees resisting efforts to force him back to the office. Workers are resisting a full-time return to the office, while some employers push for more days on site, according to two major reports published today. That's the front page of the Irish Independent.
The Herald leads with Christmas bonus for Byrne. Liam Byrne's son Lee posted a jubilant "get in there" as his father was sentenced to 5 years in prison in the UK for his role in a firearms plot. Although with time served and remission, he will be out by Christmas.
It's disturbing how missing Kyron was failed, says Harris. Taoiseach Simon Harris has said it is deeply disturbing that a child could go missing for years, as with the case of Kyron Dernan. That's the top story on the Daily Mail today.
Yeah, similarly, the Sun and the Mirror go at the same story. Their headline in the Mirror saying, "Dig for Kyron." The Gardaí began excavating for the body of the 8-year-old boy at his home yesterday.
And lastly, the Examiner's front page: house searched in murder probe. Gardaí are expected to carry out searches of at least 4 properties in County Louth as a part of their murder investigation into 8-year-old Kyron Dernan.
Yes, so we will discuss that story now and everything else. This morning we've got political correspondent for the Irish Times, Jack Corken. Jones, good morning to you. And political correspondent with the Irish Mirror, Louise Byrne. Good morning to you both. Jack, listen, let's start with that story about Kyron Dernan, the dig. I mean, and even the Taoiseach, it's a desperate story at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the Taoiseach speaks for all of us when he says it's a disturbing story on every level. And I think that the more we find out about the timeline, the more disturbing it gets. The fact that Kyron Dernan was seemingly in school until the middle of 2022, but that the reporting and the process really only started in August of this year, which kind of begs the question of why didn't anyone notice in that interim period of over 2 years, and why was there not a more intense course of action being pursued between those two dates? And I think that, obviously there's a Garda investigation ongoing, but I think it's interesting that TUSLA have come out this morning and said that they made contact with the guards about this, that Roderick O'Gorman has taken the unusual step of referring the case to a specialist unit which looks at this, all of which is happening before obviously the discovery of any remains. So look, it's just a terrible and tragic case that provokes, I think, really disturbing questions for not only the people involved and Karen Dernan's family, of course, but also for the state and for the apparatus for state care for children.
Because we know that he was in school until mid-2022 when he was 6 years old, Kyron, and that TUSLA had dealings with the family. And then you're just like, where with neighbours and with schools, and TUSLA had dealings with them. Where is this child?
And I think it's a really unusual case, and it's very seldomly that you hear cases like this. And I mean, I think as the Taoiseach said yesterday, the idea that a child might not be seen for 2 years and we don't know what has happened to Kyron. We know the Gardaí are assuming that he is dead. And I mean, I think, and it's tough on the people. We saw the Gardaí going into his former home yesterday, and it's very tough on the tenants that are currently living there who, aren't related to the family. They're nothing to do with this disappearance. And it's tough on the community as well to think that, they're now looking for this child who, we're all saying he was 8. If he's missing 2 years, he was 6. And I think there's going to be a lot of questions that have to be asked as this investigation continues.
Huge amount of questions, yes, that just remain very much unanswered, and hopefully we do hear more very shortly on that. We move on to another story that we were discussing yesterday about teaching, and we discussed yesterday how there were nearly 1,000 teaching posts vacant around the country. Turns out there's a lot of pupils are struggling to even get into school, and then are being told that they have to be taught at home.
This is a remarkable story by my colleague Carl O'Brien on the front page of the Irish Times today. He has details of it's a small number of kids, 44 kids, who haven't been able to get into school. But I think even though it's a small number, it tells a big story.
Yes.
Because this is kids who are being homeschooled, funded by the state. The state pays for a tutor where you can't get your kid into a school. But they're not being homeschooled through choice. They're being homeschooled because they can't access a place in school.
Absolutely.
And it comes off the back last week of more reporting Carl did around parents being advised to put their kids down for multiple schools to try and get them in, the foot in the door, anywhere in the locality, and really brings home, I think, the pressure and the stress of finding a school place. When there's enough change that's going to be going on in a kid's life, the last thing that you want is not knowing exactly where you're going to end up going.
So under this scheme, families receive a grant to employ a qualified tutor to provide 9 hours of home tuition a week, which doesn't seem a lot, Louise, when you're talking about the grant scheme.
No, and I mean, when you think that most children will spend 7-8 hours in school a day, if you're in secondary school, 9 hours seems like very few. And I mean, it's incredibly tough on the children, but it's also incredibly tough on the parents who no doubt feel very guilty through no fault of their own that they can't get their child into school. And I mean, it's 44, pupils, but it's also, over 400 preschool children who should have a place who can't get it. And, what does that do developmentally to them? It's also 20 children with additional needs still waiting on school places. And it seems like we go through this rigmarole every single year of children with additional needs who need the supports, they need the care, they need the education, they need to be socialising with other children. And yet we just, as a state, seem to be failing these children again and again and again, despite the huge amount of money we have, it's worth saying as well. It's not as if we're a poor country.
100%.
Hold on, we're spending 10 million on phone cases though,
9
right?
million.
Well, okay,
9 million.
That's fine.
Well, listen, that could be argued for as well, but to think that a child doesn't get offered a place in a school in this day and age, it's pretty shocking. We got so many messages, such a reaction to the teachers yesterday.
We'd like
as well.
to hear from you, because I know that parents have a real big issues in August, September. Like, you can really struggle all that. If you've been through that, how many schools did you have to go to if you've got a child who doesn't have a school place? We'd love to hear from you. 0896 111 111 because it feels like that is wrong. It's a right that a child gets an education.
Absolutely. Half of all secondary schools across the state are set to be oversubscribed. Wow. Let's move on to another story. We'd love to hear from you on that. So the OPW, they were in front of the Public Accounts Committee yesterday, and they've been asked to be stripped of the property management function.
Yeah, it's remarkable. The OPW, geez, they can't get a break.
No.
Well, I don't know if they deserve it,
Exactly, yeah, well, fair point. But we had the bike shed and then we had the security hut. And in front of the Public Accounts Committee yesterday, there seems to be not just one, but two new sources of controversy. The first being the Distillers building, apparently in Smithfield, which is something that they've rented out at the cost of an astronomical cost of 8 million a year. But for the first 18 months of the lease, so 12 million euros worth in rent payments, there's not going to be anyone in there. Because of, I'm not quite clear on why, because they can't,
well,
they can't get the act together.
Somebody has taken the tenancy,
but then there's multiple tenants involved, and they have to talk about the fit out of the building. I mean, it just seems like logistics.
They've
leased it, yeah.
They're leasing a building, but no one's paying the rent.
No one's paying it.
Except the Office of Public Works.
So it's lying there. Yeah, so presumably the OPW wants to put state clients in there, state agencies or boards or whatever.
Yeah.
But they haven't been able to kind of straighten out finding the tenants, or the tenants haven't been able to get the information across. Anyway, it's a mess.
It's also not the first time that they've done it. They did it in 2018 in Median Plaza, which is now the home of the Department of Health, the Department of Integration. There's loads of different departments in there. I think there's 3 or 4. But they rented that for 16 million. And it was vacant for 17 months. So you would think, we're going to learn from our lessons. We're going to learn from these lessons learned. Apparently not. So
on this one, the agency is paying 12 million euro to rent this building that is lying vacant for the next 18 months. The other story as well on this is about the Children's Science Centre that is set to be built. Yeah. Proposals of around 70 million, but we're not too sure if could this potentially turn into another catastrophe spending wise.
And again, it just seems to be another mess, and this stretches back more than a decade. So there was a plan for this National Children's Science Centre next to the National Concert Hall in town. And it seems to have been the centre of a tug of war between, the charity behind it and the OPW going back to 2013. Basically, the OPW is saying that it is contracted to build this out, but it's not contracted to manage the thing once it's built, and it's not contracted to fund it either. So who's going to actually pay the bill is the question.
So they're building a 70 million euro building, but not too sure what they're going to do with it.
Well, yes, is the short answer. And it seems to me that over the course of the last decade or more, these are questions that one might have been able to thrash out the answer to.
I think we're seeing where Simon's Achilles heel might be coming in the next few weeks with the OPW there. 0896 111 111 to get in contact. Now, have you ever lost your phone up a crevice there, Jack?
Not down a crevice, and I think
not down a crevice.
I'd like to think that if I did have the misfortune of dropping my phone down a 3-metre crevice in Western Australia, I wouldn't then dive in after it.
Well, that is what has happened. Louise, what has happened to this woman? Please explain this photo.
Yeah, God love her. So this is a 22-year-old Matilda Campbell who was out for a bushwalk in Australia, and she dropped her phone. Yeah, she dropped her phone, and she said she'd reach down.
I was trying to work by that. So that's her feet.
That's her feet. So she bent down to get the phone, and in she went after it. And she was there her friends tried to pull her out. She was there for a while, I think.
7 hours.
Dedication.
And but the worst part of it, she didn't even get the phone back.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was pulled out, thankfully. Like, I hope she's well. But the phone gone. And
she fell down that crevice after the phone.
Yeah. I got out of the car once and the phone popped out of the pocket, fell into the grate. Happened to you before?
I've gone down but the side of the... Yeah, it has happened to me before.
You didn't get stuck, though.
I didn't get stuck. I got it back. It kind of landed in a certain way.
But I did try to get my hand down. I was trying to get like a hanger to get it. It wasn't happening.
It's not like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's hanging on to the cans in the vending machine.
Oh, yeah, that was so good. Well, where have you lost your phone? Have you lost it down a crevice? I don't think so. 0896 111 111. We'd love to hear from you today. Jack Corken Jones, you are staying with us. We've got something else to talk about the RSA very shortly. And Louise Byrne, political correspondent for the Irish Mirror. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you both.
Now,
Go on, Alan.
What's coming up next?
Well, you were discussing there the potential price hikes for motorists to help fund the RSA. We'd love to hear from you on this, 0896 111 And also, the creative industries may be employing someone to work on their AI. We're all losing our jobs. We'll see you after the break.
Welcome back. Now, the government is considering an increase to driving licence and NCT fees and higher penalties for dangerous road users. This is following an external review which has been done on the Road Safety Authority's current funding model.
Yeah, so he stayed with us to discuss. Jack Corken, Jones political correspondent with the Irish Times, and also here to discuss the impact of price hikes that could happen to driving test waitlists is driving instructor Lyle Crittychart. Good morning to you
Morning,
both.
guys.
Lyle, thanks so much for coming in. Jack, let's start off with the RSA. What are the responsibilities for the RSA?
Well, they're very broad. They're much broader than I had realised, actually. So the backdrop to this is obviously a worrying increase in the number of fatalities and serious injuries on the road. So the government, the Department of Transport, decided to try and kind of get under the bonnet, if you pardon the pun, and have a look at all the different parts of driver safety. And part of that look involves looking at the Road Safety Authority. So they commissioned this external review, which we got a look at for the Irish Times yesterday. And what it's found is that the Road Safety Authority, the RSA, there's been a huge degree of mission creep over recent years, where it's had more and more kind of responsibilities added way beyond its previous mandate. So if you look at what it does, it's a huge array of things, going from testing, so your theory test, your driver's license, the driver's license testing service, the NCT, the commercial vehicle equivalent of NCT, and that's the kind of stuff that you might see as a driver. But then, from a broader road user point of view, there's safety and awareness and education. It also involves inputting into legislative reform. It involves, basically convening or managing a bunch of other agencies around the state. And what they're basically saying is that there's kind of too much on the plate of the RSA, and that it's facing a serious funding shortfall as well, with a large deficit emerging at the moment, but one that looks like it's going to get bigger in the years ahead. So there's a big case for reform of the RSA.
So I suppose an awful lot of us thought that it was kind of awareness campaigns, but it is so much more. And of course, as you mentioned there were 184 deaths on our road last year. So far this year, there have been 144. So we are on this upward trend. It's very scary. It's the deficits. So these 20 million, and it's going to increase to 43 million, it's saying in 2033. So that is covering all of these costs. Like, do we know where this money is going? It's trying to cover all these costs.
Yeah, so effectively the testing side of the business,
is that not making money?
That's what generates the income. But they've had issues on that side of the business as well, because of the backlog from COVID, trying to find enough people to work in the testing centres. All these kind of things have made that kind of cash generative part of the business a little bit more challenged. Meanwhile, it kind of cross-subsidises the part of the business that doesn't make money, i.e. the awareness and safety part. But there's a crunch coming on both ends. So the worry is that because there's more, because the fee income generating part of the business is under more pressure, then they may not have enough money to invest in the road safety part of it. So what basically the review is saying is that you need to put more money into this, and that needs to happen in two ways. You need to put more state exchequer cash into it and put some of the responsibilities of the RSA back into the department, but also increase fees to kind of right-size that, because they've been frozen for over a decade and the RSA doesn't have the power to do it off its own bat.
So the services really just aren't being met across the board on this, and probably being split might help things. Lyle, you're a driving instructor. What are the kind of times now to get a test? Because I believe the backlog is just growing and growing.
Yeah. First time around, if it's your first test, you could be looking at anything from maybe 2 months, 3 months, up until maybe 9 months. In some cases longer. I've had students maybe waiting around 12 months sometimes. That's the first time. But the second time around is generally a little bit quicker. You can get the cancellations.
So that's not too bad though, is it? Really? If they're thinking that you turn 17, 18, you want to get a good few months of tests under your belt.
Yeah. Well, it would be great if people were driving in that period where they're waiting. The biggest issue what we're finding is people will do their lessons, get it all done, and then they'll go onto the waiting list, and that's kind of when their waiting starts. And they won't drive until they get that date. they might not have access to a car or a sponsor, you know what I mean? So they might not be able to actually practice until they have the day.
So with these waiting times, the test so far, it's €85, and their plan is to increase it if they can get it through to $93.50. But that comes with a whole load of other, like you've got to pay for theory tests now, you've got to pay for the certain number of lessons that you have to do beforehand, with all the things that you have to go with it. But do you think that increasing these fees would be an impediment to people doing their driving tests, or are people just going to do it either way?
10% increase. I think people will likely enough just bite that bullet on it.
Yeah.
You know, I think they will, because, you know, the weight, I was reading a lot about it, and the weight, I didn't hear anything about that decreasing, you know. Volume's getting larger, increased fees, maybe.
Do we need more driving instructors? Like, what's
I think
going
so.
on?
Yeah, about 2,000, a little bit over 2,200 driving instructors nationwide. It's not really a lot. Do you know what I mean? And that mightn't be all active instructors.
What testing do you have to do? How do you become a driving instructor?
3 stages. So you have to, first of all, be eligible. So you have to be of a certain age, so at least 21 years old, and have your licence for at least 2 years. And then you can start the process. And once you start the process, 3 stages. So an advanced theory test, an advanced driving test, and then a third test, which is an instructional ability test.
Because I was surprised with this, or maybe not surprised. Half of learner drivers failed their first test. That's a pretty bad success rate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's insane, you know.
As a teacher.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be happy with that.
Well, he's like, it's not mine. That's not my figures.
It's 50%.
Yeah, 100% of my students.
Well, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have. Listen, I failed twice, so I'm as bad as anyone. But, like, if we're talking about the backlog on this, surely up in the ante from a training point of view, so less people fail.
Absolutely. Well, the requirement is 12 hours. Well, it's not 12 hours, it's 12 lessons, 12 EDT lessons. And in those lessons, so one EDT, it's actually supposed to be about 3 to 4 hours of driving. But a lot of people assume that one EDT equals 1 hour. So typically you'll find people will do their 12 lessons, they'll do 12 hours, but they won't do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to be doing an awful lot more.
You need to be doing more than that. Yeah, that's the expectation, you know?
So that
Jack,
should be upped.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be 3 to 4 hours before we sign off on it.
Yeah.
But typically across the board, it's probably not happening, you know?
The report is set to be considered by Cabinet before the election. Is this likely to go through, considering no one wants to raise prices before an election?
I think it won't go through before the election, absolutely not. No. So there's a big legislative piece to do, there's a structural piece, and then there's the question of raising the fees. I think that ultimately something like this will happen, and I think as Lyle was saying, like the fees increase, well, nobody will welcome them, they're not enormous, but nonetheless, no politician wants to be pushing through a fee increase before a general election. So this is a 2025 issue, I'd say.
OK. 0896 111 111. We would love to hear from you about this. Wait times, failing, passing tests, what you think actually needs to be done in relation to all of this. Because
absolutely.
The deaths are going up on our roads, and it is a safety issue.
Jack Horgan-Jones from the Irish Times, as ever, thanks so much for coming in. And Lyle Criddy-Chart, driving instructor, director of DLT. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks a million, guys. Cheers.
I'd love to hear from you now.
Now, could Al be taking jobs from us? Oh, not Al. It's not Alan Hughes taking all our jobs. OK. No. Elaine Burke.
Yes. Could AI be taking all our jobs? Elaine Burke's going to be telling us more after the break.
Welcome back. Now, so far across the globe, governments have struggled to hold social media companies accountable for the harmful content that's shown on their platforms. This week, Comisiún na Man published its online safety code, promising an end to the era of social media self-regulation.
Yes, and here to tell us about that and other news from the world of tech is host of For Tech's Sake podcast, Elaine Burke. Good morning to you, Elaine. So fill us in on this report then and what it contains.
Yeah, so the online safety code, people may have heard about it before now, but now it's actually going to start coming into effect. So as of next month, some of the general rules will be in effect, and then the platforms that will be affected have a bit more time to introduce maybe some new operations that will be impacted.
Or something, is it? Or,
yeah, so the platforms affected are actually, it's an online safety code, but it's specifically about video sharing platforms and ones that have been named in the code because they're platforms that are impacting a significant number of users. And that includes the ones that you'd expect. So you've got like Facebook, Instagram, X in there. We've also got some that you may not expect, like Reddit and Tumblr, because they're not actually video hosting platforms like YouTube, which is part of this code, but people share videos on there. but then WhatsApp is not part of it because it's a private messaging app. So there's a bit of consternation about who is impacted by the code and who is not, but there's a short list of platforms that will be affected by this. They can be fined up to 10 million, up to 20 million euro or 10% of their global turnover. So quite substantial fines. But when they say this area of self-regulation is over, there's an element here where it's kind of still going to be on users to help with that regulation, because this will come down to user reporting in a huge way. And it means that the safety code says that they have to respond to user reports. So people may feel like they report content and get no response. So they should now expect that they do get at least a response when they report content that they deem to be harmful or illegal, even in some cases. But nothing is specific about the timeline of those responses. So there still is leeway there on what is a timely response, what is obviously a substantive response.
So 4 months later,
well.
but I sent you a reply. It was 4 months later, but
you actually
and all that
really,
content is still up during that
Commissioner
fine.
Naman won't really take on a complaint from you unless you've exhausted the avenues with the platform itself. So it doesn't feel like too significant a change, but the platforms are a little bit spooked by this. They also have to introduce some age assurances, and Niamh Hodnett, the commissioner, has specifically said that self-declaration, which is when a user literally says, I was born in X year or I am X years old, is not sufficient, but they haven't specified what is sufficient and what needs to be done there in terms of age assurances, verifying that users are of the age that the platform says that they need to be to use that platform.
And they have said, the platforms have said that we haven't started looking at this and how we will do this.
Yeah. Like
and you're sitting there going, you knew this is coming down the track. You're doing this on purpose. And they have so many abilities. We know that they have the ability to detect so much, but it's not in their interests.
It's not in their interest to try and diminish the user base on their platforms.
Well, look,
that's what this would do.
all we can say is at least something is being done or trying to be done.
Yeah. Exactly.
Still seems a little bit vague. Maybe they could have gone a little bit further, but at least it is first steps. Let's talk about this ITV. A lot of criticism for them for hiring a head of AI.
So this was a job posting that went out on LinkedIn. It was probably posted elsewhere, but has since been taken down because of the backlash to it. And yes, it was a head of generative AI. So that's the kind of AI that generates video, audio, and even text-based media. And it seems to be, now I didn't get to see the original posting because it was taken down, but from what I've seen from reports is it looks like it was sort of what I would call a digital transformation role. So people have interpreted this as it was a content creator role. Now, again, I didn't see the posting, but from what I've seen, there was elements where they were someone who was going to implement and introduce tools to the organisation for content creation. But that's also something that you would do in what's called digital transformation, where you're bringing an organisation forward in terms of the technology that they use. So it could have been that the role was going to be finding technologies and how they might be able to be used by creators as opposed to replacing creators. Now, that's just giving them the best, most generous interpretation of this role. But they didn't get that interpretation from the creators in the industry. So the likes of Lisa McGee, the creator of Deric Girls, and lots of other creatives balked at this notion that ITV would be hiring a creative who was going to introduce generative AI.
Her thing was, look, this is a £95,000 job a year. Give that to scriptwriters or people who are developing projects. And that was her thing on it.
And the person who's involved in AI could do 20 projects rather than someone
I think they're right. I think, look, we're moving forward. It is something to do there. And yes, I do agree that maybe if it looked like it was replacing stuff.
Well, let's look what it can do for us, because you generated some AI breakfast show content for us a little while. We've got some pictures here. Of course, we did an AI show last year. We won awards for an AI show last year, and we tried to do it, but it was very hard. Like, it took a long time to do one show. I don't think we can. They don't want to show our AI generated breakfast show. Anyway, listen, we have one there.
There, farmer Miriam's there. So when you say Irish, you get either redheads or farmers. It seems to be.
So if you said Irish breakfast TV show. That's what we look
two
like.
Two hosts of an Irish breakfast
AM
show.
Tommy's going.
And there's a redhead. And they constantly, when it was just two hosts, I didn't specify genders or ages or anything like that. It was constantly a younger woman and an older man.
Oh, yeah.
When you think of the content that these
here we are,
trained
dear
on,
younger woman and an older man.
I think you prefer her now, to be
Don't
fair.
they look very American television? And when you think of the content that it's trained on, it is primarily American-dominated
They look
content.
like they're going on CSI. What the
Yeah, they do.
I was trying to
actually.
get more fashionable people, and this has kind of started.
So that's what AI came up
Recreate
with
your
what
style,
an
guys.
Irish TV show would look like.
What an Irish breakfast
What an
television
Irish
host.
breakfast
Yeah.
television host would look like.
There we go. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I really am. I wish I did look like that computer. Very quickly, ABBA, Radiohead and The Cure, they have all signed an AI protest letter against the unlicensed use of their work.
Yeah, so tied into this story, basically creatives are getting spooked about AI, and over 10,000 creators from different industries have signed this letter. It was actually led by someone who is a mix of a creator and an ex-exec from an AI company. And there's also court cases going on. Suno and Udio are being sued by the music companies because Suno and Udio are music generation platforms and song generation platforms. But what I would say is, like you were trying to say there, Alan, as well, AI is here and people are using it. And rather than be spooked by it and afraid by it, because it can also be used by creators in very interesting ways.
Can it be used in this way? Can we show a quick video of Michael Healy-Rae and Simon Harris? If we have
This is
time?
brilliant. Have you seen? Look, you know this is like.
Well, this
fake.
is what's going to happen, though. If we do finally have a day for general election, you're going to see more of this content because it's easy to create. So if people need content, they can go to AI. I created those images of you guys in minutes using completely free tools. So this is what's available to people.
Simon's looking well, isn't he? But they're in the Matrix
people
and
who
a
make
dojo.
bad content are going to continue to make bad content. Creators shouldn't be threatened by bad content. But if you are interested in engaging on what AI means to creators, there's actually an AI art assembly taking place in Dublin at the start of November, being hosted by the Beta Festival. And it's going to bring creatives and technologists together to discuss the things that need to be addressed in terms of AI and the arts industry. And it's a really, it's taking the model of a citizens' assembly style event to create maybe some guidelines and considerations there.
Yeah, we've done so well with social media. Let's take on AI. Elaine Burke, the host of For Tech's Sake, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. Now, still to come this morning, we talk about the importance of women supporting other women.
Plus, Dublin tenor and adoptee Paul Byrom tells us what it was like when he finally managed to trace and meet his birth mother. We'll be back after this quick break.
Welcome back. It's time to take a look at this morning's papers. We're starting with the Irish Times. The headline, Kinahan leader gave names to UK police over guns. Thomas Bomber Kavanagh, the Irishman who led the Kinahan cartel's British operation, he apparently gave a list of names to the UK's National Crime Agency of Irish criminal and paramilitary figures in County Down that he suggested may have owned guns his gang had secretly planted.
The Star leads with the same story. Its headline, Kick Up the Arsenal. Desperate Kinahan boss Thomas Bomber Kavanagh had a further 3 years lobbed onto his existing drug trafficking sentence after his weapons plot to secure a lesser sentence particularly backfired.
Employees resisting efforts to force them back to the office. Apparently, they're resisting a full-time return to the office, while some employers push for more days on site. That's according to two major reports published today. That's the front page of the Irish Independent.
The Herald leads with Christmas bonus for Byrne. Liam Byrne's son Lee posted a jubilant get in there as his father was sentenced to 5 years in prison in the UK for his role in firearms plot. Although with time served and remission, he will be out by Christmas.
It's disturbing how missing Kyron was failed, says Harris. Taoiseach Simon Harris has said it is deeply disturbing that a child could go missing for years, as with the case of Kyron Dernan. That's the top story on the Irish Daily Mail today.
Yeah, the Sun and the Mirror go with the same story. The headline in the Mirror saying, dig for Kyron. The Gardaí believe began excavating for the body of the 8-year-old boy at his old home yesterday.
And lastly, the Examiner also leads with house searched in murder probe. Gardaí are expected to carry out searches of at least 4 properties in County Louth as part of their murder investigation into 8-year-old Kyron Dernan. And we were speaking about that case earlier on. That poor little child. Hopefully be found soon.
Frightening. Hopefully we do hear more answers on that in time. We were discussing also about the RSA, the Road Safety Agency, and talking about increasing the price of driver licence to apply for your licence, to apply for a test, because there's a huge shortfall in money. And we were surprised in the amount of work that the RSA actually do. But
because we all said that this morning. We went, what did they do? When Jack Horgan-Jones sat down and actually explained explained all the things they do,
remit.
you just go, oh, okay. You know, there was so much that they do that we maybe do not realise. But then when you're talking about increasing driving licence and car testing fees, Sandra said, my son was 2 years trying to get his full licence, and between the lessons that you have to pay for now and all the tests, it has cost us €1,900.
And listen, it's a lot. And I know that it is a life skill and we don't have the good public transport, but also you're driving heavy machinery. Sometimes you have to go at what cost? Like, we have to be good at doing this. They're killing machines.
Oh, yeah,
you know?
Of course, yeah. Well, should it not be a basic life skill, like a message here, should be taught in school, as in other countries, instead of the SPHE or CSPE, don't know what that is. I remember in Ballantyre Community School during the 80s, we had motorbike lessons.
Well, it's social personal health education, so it's those things are kind of important, and they're classes as well to teach you how to be a citizen and a good person. So I don't know.
I do think basic life skills,
Basic life skills, and I can imagine the teachers.
And the teachers are going, what else are we meant to teach them?
What else are we supposed to do?
Less
We have
trigonometry.
to teach you how to drive now as well.
Trigonometry would be good for the old driving as well, knowing what angles are. Do you know what I mean? It all goes in together. Hilary says, good morning. My daughter did her first lesson when she was 18. Lots of lessons later, breaks, etc. She's 31. She's going to do her first test in a few weeks. She's expecting to pass. It takes much more than 12 hours of lessons. And it does. Like, when we learned how to drive, I was in the car for months.
I like Alan's one here. Hi all, it's laughable that motorists who obey the rules on the road are being targeted again with these price hikes. The better way would be to quadruple the fines for those motorists who break the law. Also, motorists caught drug driving or driving without insurance should have their cars seized immediately by the state and sold, with the proceeds going to Motorists Insurance Bureau to compensate for victims in accidents with uninsured drivers.
Wow.
That is incredibly interesting. We'd love to hear from you on that.
Hard line.
Because uninsured driving is actually increasing a little bit
Hugely.
in Ireland. 0896 111 111. What do you think about that? Seizing cars off people if they're breaking the law?
And sell them.
Hard line.
Sell them, yeah. If
Quadruple
you're
the
caught
prices.
drunk driving or drugs, your car is seized and it's sold.
Yeah.
You'll never get it back.
Yeah.
I could imagine the backlash over that one.
Now, we've got some
Thank you.
amazing messages here as well about children who can't get school places, and we are going to get to them. We'll be back. We're going to be talking to the founder of the Shona Project first, though, whose aim is to celebrate and mentor people, the next generation of people. We're back with you very shortly on Ireland Day.
You're very welcome back. Now, inspiring and supporting the next generation of young women is what the Shona Project set out to do when it began in 2016.
And now in 2024, their work continues. They've established a mentorship programme, and here to tell us more, founder of the Shona Project, Tammy Darcy, and participant in the mentorship programme, Katie Joubert. Good morning to you both.
Hello.
It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks for having
Tammy,
us.
what exactly is the Shona Project? What does it do?
We're a charity, and our aim is to make sure that every teenage girl in Ireland has everything she needs to achieve her potential. So whether that's information, advice, somewhere to share their stories, or mentorship in the case of girls like Katie.
So in terms of, you're huge in women supporting women and female empowerment. Why did you decide this was important?
Well, it's kind of based on my own experience as a teenager, which wasn't, very positive. But when I looked at it as an older person, I realised that Irish girls have amongst the lowest self-esteem in the world, and we also have very high rates of anxiety and other challenges as well. And I just thought, why is there not an organisation that's supporting these girls and having open and honest conversations with them about what it means to be a woman and how we should support each other? And nobody else was doing it, so...
Do you think that women like that need to be siloed, though? Sometimes I heard, like, when you're having the talk, girls and boys are put into separate rooms. Whereas, sometimes with things like that, would you think we have to do that together so that we see our similarities rather than our differences?
Well, hopefully someday we'll get to a world where we don't, but at the moment we do. Like, that's why there's a National Women's Council, that's why there's other organisations that support women. And, gender is a spectrum. Being a woman looks very different to everybody, being a man looks very different to every man, and there's non-binary folk as well. So it's not up to us to tell them what it means to be a woman, it's up to us just to help them explore it and express it in the way that they're comfortable with.
Katie, you're part of the Shona Project mentorship programme. Do you find, and certainly as a young girl in school, anxiety here in Ireland is you know, at a massive level, and something like having a mentor is really important.
Oh yes, 100%. Like I think in different aspects of life, whether it's education, family, friends, like anxiety is a big part of a lot of young people in Ireland. So I think a project like the Shona Project especially is good for young girls, because I think we tend to see other girls as competition or rivals or stuff, instead of coming together and being like uniting together, you know? So I think the Shona Project, you know, like bring girls together, and instead of going against each other, it, you know, talk about things and be like, you know what, you're struggling too, I'm struggling too, and it's okay to not be okay.
And Katie, what is the reality of are you in a mixed school or a single-sex school?
Single-sex school.
You're in a single-sex school, so you're surrounded by girls.
Yeah.
So what is the reality? Because we sit here all the time and we talk about the pressures that are happening to young people, but we're not in it. We can only harken back to either people that we know or what our life is like. What is it like being a teenage girl?
I think, honestly, there's no good way to describe it, because every girl, every young person has their own journey and their own experiences in life. But I think, you know what, it is hard to be a young person in today's society. Like, society puts so much expectations and pressures on people to look a certain way, act a certain way, do certain things. So it's hard, you know? So I think, again, Shona Project helps break down those stereotypes. Yeah.
I mean, this is good to happen in secondary school. Do you think that because I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I can see like a little meanness sometimes among the girls. Like, is it being taught at a young age as well?
I don't know. I think personally, when people are not nice to others, I think it can stem from their own insecurities, because I think we have this kind of thought process or this mindset to be like, oh, I need to project it, you know, like there's something wrong with me, you know, I'm horrible, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, you know? So we tend to project it. So I think they're not necessarily mean to be nasty and mean, they're just, you know, projecting.
Yeah, but like being a teenage girl, it was
so
awful.
Hard.
Like, it was
so
awful.
hard.
And you always think that you were weird, and you always thought it was only you who was going through certain things, and the next thing you'd say something to a friend and you'd realise, oh my God, you feel the exact same way as me. And it is trying to get young girls not to feel alone, really, Tammy, isn't it? To know that there's someone feeling the same way.
I mean, girls are growing up, and boys too. I'm not just saying this is just girls, but like we work with girls. But there's like a perfect storm there of social media valuing them and rewarding them for how they look above all else. So many girls are 13, 14, and they already feel like they've failed before they've even, you know, they're even adults.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of competition, and we're just trying to change the narrative around what it means to be a woman, really, and trying to empower us and give us space to have that conversation. And also, I think as well, when you go through things that are hard, like struggle with your mental health, or if you've stuff going on at home, we tend to feel a lot of shame about that, whereas we think the fact that you go through that and keep going is a superpower and something that should be celebrated and rewarded. So it's about changing that narrative to take those negatives and turn them into positive things.
Absolutely.
I'm a big believer in mentorship, and I think that it's something that so many people would love to help out. It's kind of, how do you put them both together? So it's a great idea. What does the mentor do? How does it work?
So it's exactly that. Like, we've, through our work, met so many amazing women that have, you know, all said, how can I get involved? How can I help? And we've thought, well, how can we harness that and join these with the girls that need, you know, that like big sister voice in their lives? So this is the first year that we've done it, and we went out to our partners and asked them to nominate female leaders from within the organisation, and then we train them, we vet them, we give them support in a community, and then we pair them with the girls, so they do one-on-one mentorship throughout the year. At the start of the year, just about a month ago, we had the launch of the programme, so we brought them all together at an event, and we had a great day, and they got to meet each other, and we got to do icebreakers, and they got to set goals and talk about what do you want to achieve throughout this programme. And then they're just going off and doing their own thing.
So Katie, who's your mentor, and what is it that you want to achieve through this programme?
My mentor is Emma Coughlin. She works in Allianz, amazing, inspired woman. And what I want to achieve, I think, two main things would be confidence, because I would like to go into a career helping others and working with NGOs and charities and stuff like that. And I think to be able to help others, you need to believe in yourself first and help yourself first to be able to do it for others. So I think confidence is a big thing that I need to help myself and build up. And then another thing would be networking. I think, you know, meeting other people, getting new opportunities, even speaking to other people about their journeys and experiences and how I could learn from that, or, you know, go another way or different paths and stuff would be amazing.
Do you plan on meeting up again? Is there more meetings? Is that up to you kind of to organise?
Yeah, so we have once a month, we have an online Zoom meeting, and then actually my amazing mentor organised for me to go to the Waterford Courthouse. So we're meeting up, it's either the 29th or the 30th of October. So we're going to meet up in real life again. Yeah.
Waterford Courthouse.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, lads. No, but you're going to see some. You're going to see some. All of life is going to be there. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Katie's interested in law.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no.
As a lawyer, so it's given
Yeah.
her
That's it's an amazing thing to get to do, like to actually go into a courthouse. That's such a cool thing. Yeah. But Tammy, you were earlier on. We were looking at Obama on the news there a while ago. He was rapping Eminem. See, your best mate? Are you in the Obama?
I'm more of a Michelle girl.
Oh, you're more, she does have the best arms in the world.
Yeah.
Well, you're in their leadership program, is it?
Yeah, it's really funny. The Obamas, every year, they pick leaders from across the world to go in a programme with them, and they'd never had Irish leaders before. And this year, they picked the Irish ones for the first time. So I was picked, and Leon Diop from Black and Irish was picked, and I'm really glad you brought it up because he was on the 6 o'clock show the other day and mentioned me, so I said I have to mention him here today. And there's another girl called Carolina as well. So yeah, we've been picked to go on this programme where we have access to their team, their strategists, their speech writers, and we're kind of developing our own leadership styles through that.
That's amazing. That must be amazing.
Listen, it's a great project that you're doing. If people want to get involved in it, check it out on shona.ie, Shona. Tammy Darcy, founder of the Shona Project, thanks so much for coming in and talking to us this morning. And Katie Joubert, who is part of the mentorship programme. Great to have you with us.
And you did
enjoy
brilliantly.
Waterford.
You were amazing today. Absolutely amazing.
Right, still to come this hour, we're going to be serving up a slice of cake in the kitchen.
And Deric won't go hungry either as he visits food stalls in Kilkenny whilst he's doing yoga, we think. We'll talk to you shortly on Ireland AM.
Now, thanks for staying with us. When is this like a slice of cake not enough? Why not have a slab?
With such conviction. Why not? Good morning, Susie Lee. What are we having?
We are making a banana slab cake. So it's going to be just a slab of cake instead of a banana bread loaf.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. What's the difference?
The difference, well, obviously it's just flatter, takes less time to cook.
Okay.
Usually a banana bread takes like an hour.
Is it thicker? A slab makes me think it's like tougher.
No, actually it's a lot lighter.
Be less. It won't rise as much.
Yeah. So some softened butter, some brown sugar, some castor sugar, and just give that a good mix till it is nice and smooth and fluffy.
Sorry, what was in that?
So
melted butter.
Well, softened butter.
Yeah.
So like softened butter,
yeah,
so that it's easy to work with, and then brown sugar, and then some castor sugar, and just keep beating it. So you can put a mixer, if you have a mixer, throw everything in, and then it's done in 2 minutes, and it's really, really simple.
But you're doing it this way. You could have used our mixer here.
I could have, but then I might have knocked myself out by trying to lift it down.
We could have lifted it down.
I know, but like...
Susie, we're always here to help. But listen, good on, a bit of elbow grease.
Keep him fit this morning.
Butter, sugar, and then some eggs, yep. So just a normal basic cake mixture. But what I like about this is that we are going to puree the bananas. We're not going to just mash them up and have large lumps of it, because this actually then makes it really moist and light.
Is it? You wouldn't use a whisk with this, would you? Like
you could, but then you just kind of would get it caught at the start, because once you add flour, it'll get all claggy, and then you'll have lumps stuck to your whisk.
It's nice to see you doing it the way it's been done for years and years and years.
Centuries and whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can do it in a jug or a bowl. I'm just going to...
This wrecks my head now in our house.
What?
Lucy'd be throwing that banana out.
Oh, would she?
No, but then this is where you make
look at the inside,
bread.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. I know this is what I tell her. Yeah, I love them actually when they get a bit like that.
No, I wouldn't eat them like that.
Would you not?
That's why this...
It's sweeter though, I think.
Yeah, no, it's just the texture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I make... lots of banana bread.
Perfect for banana bread then.
Perfect for banana bread, banana cake. So literally you just...
You didn't have a mixer like this. Is that just the same thing? You're just a bit of elbow grease and mulching it all down, yeah.
And then it's literally 2 seconds, done.
Yeah,
and then in.
That goes in. Did you make banana bread during COVID?
No, I tried to make sourdough.
You've tried a few times with the sourdough. Did you ever get it right?
No, desperate.
You're like, no, negative.
Came out Burnt, yeah, it wasn't
Negative.
It wasn't great.
Okay.
I had a newborn kid. I didn't have time to make it bread, so that time it's
some vanilla extract, just to give it more flavour, and then we are going to add in some sieved flour. So I've already sieved this, so we're just going to add this in.
So,
and then I'm going to sieve in.
Is that a bit of baking powder?
Yeah, just to give it some extra rise.
Why do you always sieve the baking powder?
Because if it's been sitting around in your cupboard, it just clumps together, and then you just get this lovely bit of fluff, you know,
So
like
always
powdery
sieve
stuff.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
so always sieve it. So give that a good mix. Have your oven preheated at about 180 degrees. So then
because it is quite. Oh, I suppose once you get that into it, it'll thicken up loads, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. So
So
you're just
you're making the slab this morning, but you also made us cupcakes as well.
Yeah, so I'm just sort of saying, because this is a really easy child-friendly recipe where they can be
holidays now coming up to Halloween. Perfect.
Do you know what I mean? And nobody's fighting with you going, I want to mix or I want to put it there. So it's just like, here's a tin.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Knock yourself out with the cupcake. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Can
Make
I
it
have
as
a go?
messy. Yeah. Well, this is.
No, it's going in now. It's going into the oven now.
Yeah, you make the cupcakes, exactly. So here
Oh,
are
to put
the
put the thing onto it.
And here is some icing.
So this is burnt sugar icing.
Burnt butter.
Burnt butter. What do you mean burnt butter?
So I'm going to do that now. So obviously after this, we just pour this in, and then we'll put that straight into the oven.
So how long goes into the oven for?
So it's roughly about 25 minutes to 30 minutes. So we're just going to pop this in. And then the burnt butter, I've already melted some butter here, but you want it so it's already melted. And I'm just going to eat it. And then you're going to take it to the
Oh, you want that? All right, sorry.
So then all you're wanting to do is take this to the point where it's actually starting to go brown, not like, you know, burnt.
Right.
So literally you'll see this and it's going...
So what sort of temperature? You've got that in
high.
high heat.
But you need to keep working it.
Oh, wow.
Because otherwise the butter solids will stick to the bottom and get too much.
Oh, yeah.
And Alan's fine. Okay, this is good.
Fine. They're so fresh.
Yep.
Oh.
So as you can see, this is now roaring its head off.
Yeah.
And within about 20 seconds, this is going to get brown.
Okay.
Mix it in with some icing sugar, some vanilla extract, and you have got that delicious gooey icing.
So this is the gooey icing here. We see it here.
So then that was made last night. This will be quite thin because it is hot, but once it cools down, it becomes this lovely, thick icing.
So let's have a look at this butter. I want to see
So it's
when
nice
it gets to brown.
Yeah, so 1 second. So I need to keep working it, otherwise I will probably burn
So you
this.
just keep stirring, is it?
Yeah, so you'll see it's starting to change colour already.
Yeah.
So it's getting like a golden. So I can actually take it off the heat now because you'll see if I push that away.
And what do you do then? You stick.
So then you can do it this way. You can pour it this way, or you can add it to that. So I'm going to pour it this way. So literally add the icing in, and then you just mix it in.
And how much icing have you got there?
So it's half quantity. So this is 100 grams butter. This is 200 grams sieved icing sugar. And then you just work this through. And then once you get that done, add in your vanilla.
So Susie, when the slab comes out, then you'd cover the top of the slab with it, would you?
So literally, I make this in advance.
The same way that Tommy's doing here with the cupcakes.
Yeah. So as you can see,
there like that.
Was doing, I'm eating.
Was doing, you're eating.
So then you just keep working it, and you don't. It may look that it's too thick, but the heat will make this go nice and soft because there's enough butter to dissolve all of that icing sugar. So you
Susie, they're absolutely delicious.
Yeah, they are really good.
So then you can add the toasted nuts if you want. You don't have to.
No.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
No, I'm free, nut free.
Are you right? Oh, I love the roasted almonds.
Susie, thank you so much.
Welcome.
They are absolutely gorgeous, Mum.
Sorry,
we're on our second one already. Okay. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome.
Now, up next, Deric is tickling his taste buds because he's checking out Kilkenny Savour Food Festival. Back after this short break. You're very welcome back. Now, this morning, Deric's been spending time in the medieval city of Kilkenny.
Yes, from sampling delicious local produce to downward dog poses. You never know what Deric is up to.
Deric, good morning.
Oh, he's still upright.
Oh, you never know what we're up to, guys. Anyway, you're in for a proper treat down here this morning because we're live from Kilkenny City to tie in, of course, with Savour Kilkenny. Mag Kerwin is with us here this morning. Good morning to you, Mag.
Morning, how are you doing?
Mag, I believe you're the matriarch of the group.
Well, I'm one of many matriarchs in Kilkenny, a group of women who are very strong in food in Kilkenny over the last 15 years.
And you all got together, and of course, the festival up and running now. This is your 16th year of it.
Yes, it's been amazing, and it's been great for Kilkenny, and it's grown from strength to strength, run by Marion Flannery. Obviously.
Now, tell us about your product here this morning.
We're a freshwater aquaculture business. We produce lots of amazing products, trout caviar, smoked trout. We supply the Irish market, and we are exporting quite a lot now as well.
That's my first time tasting trout caviar. It's delicious.
It's not exactly how you taste trout caviar, but...
And where do you farm it?
So we farm it in Kilkenny and Wicklow. We're based in Kilkenny and Wicklow.
And how's the business going for you?
Very good, yeah. We're driving on, going from strength to strength.
Strength for strength.
Lots of opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, Mike, thanks for joining us here this morning. Olivia Goodwillie is with us. And Olivia, you're an author, in fact.
Yes, now I am an author after being a cheesemaker and a sausage maker over the years, founder member of Savour Kilkenny way back in the day. And when I stopped making cheese, I decided I want to do something else foodie, so I thought I'd write about it. These books are to introduce children to where food comes from. It doesn't come out of a bottle, it comes out of a cow.
Yeah, exactly.
And then 2 recipe books, one about cooking vegetables and one about cooking cakes and biscuits.
Oh, beautiful, yeah. Olivia, absolutely, and a great read nonetheless. All right, Joan Cahill is with us from Joan and Bob's Juicy Jams.
Yeah.
Tell us when you started, Joan.
About 10 years ago now, where we started just in a small way.
And of course, you were at home, you were telling me, during COVID. And of course, that's where it all started for you in your kitchen.
No, not COVID.
Oh,
not
just before
really recently.
COVID?
Yeah, a long time ago, 10 years ago. Yeah, and we started in our own kitchen. Started with a range of jams. In honour of my mother, she used to make jams for the 10 of us in the family. And so, like I said, I'll give that a go. And then we thought we'd make a few other things, you know, just see what would go well. So we love cooking. We're real foodies. So we like picking, you know, the berries, and this is the elderflower we picked.
Yeah, and you've got your cordial, of course, perfect time of the year for it as well. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
All right, Joan Cahill, thank you so much for joining us. We've got Anne Neary here from Ryland House Cookery School. Anne, you're teaching a long time as well.
Yes, I am. 33 years.
33 years. And do many people come down to your school?
Yes, they come from all over, actually. I even have people that come from abroad to me as well. Now, we've downsized. We're not as big as we were before, but we still are actually giving our classes, and we get booked out nearly all the time with them. Yeah. And I'm a founder member with Julie as well, with Olivia, of the Savour Kilkenny Food Festival.
Which is wonderful. And one of your students here is Mary Walsh. Yes. Good morning to you, Mary.
Yeah. And have taught me everything.
Yeah, great. And Mary, you've got Kilkenny free range, all the goose eggs.
Yeah, goose for Christmas market.
Yes. How many geese have you got?
About 550 at the moment.
550 geese?
Yes.
On the farm, so it's a busy time of the year for you.
It is, yes, it's a busy time, but I enjoy it immensely, to be honest with you.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. We're going to pop over here to Julie Calder-Potts from Highbank Orchard. The last time I spoke to you, we were in the rain, we were collecting apples in the orchard.
We were. Good morning, Deric. What a beautiful morning it is today here. Yes, and that is...
And of course, you've gone from strength to strength with your range.
Yes, and I was just thinking, we launched our range at the first Savour apple syrup to see do people like it.
And did they love it?
They loved it. Yeah. People bought it, and it was absolutely wonderful.
And that beautiful apple brandy, that's a beautiful, delicious
That would warm us up this morning, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
All right, and your husband, I know, is with us here this morning.
Yes, that's
as well.
Rod, the other best half of the business.
We were on a tractor collecting apples together. Sarah McGree is with us from Wild Grazer. Tell us about your beautiful business, Sarah.
So we are an award-winning cheese and charcuterie grazing company. We are the leading cheese wheel wedding cake supplier in Ireland, and the only business that is doing cheese styling workshops all across Ireland. So we create these beautiful edible art displays using the best of local Irish products for all events.
And what a display, looks absolutely incredible, Sarah. Next up we're going to Helen Finnegan from Knockdrinna. Good morning to you, Helen.
Good morning, Deric.
Helen, what a spread. And of course this is a brand new product that you've launched for Savour Kilkenny.
Exactly, our farmhouse butter. So we did make cheese for many years, and now we're moving into the butter business. So this is a new project, and it's a social economy project So we're working with lots of people with different skills and abilities who are working with us. In the
Amazing.
project.
And how's it going for you?
Absolutely brilliant. So excited to be participating in Savour. It's just a great.
And it's going to be a fantastic weekend. 57,000 people expected down here right across the weekend. Jenny, can you tell us about where we're at here this morning?
Yeah, hi Deric. We're here this morning in the beautiful Butler House and Gardens, an 18th century home, and next to the Castle Yard, where we can walk through the little gate here into the yard.
Absolutely gorgeous. Look, I'm going to try some of this from Bar. Thank you for Moran. Guramila. Look at this, beautiful. Continue there, Jenny. Sorry.
Yeah, so we've the Castle Yard. We've got all the makers, and our Cora Wellness studio is in there as well, straight across from the castle itself. It's just a beautiful part of the city.
There is lots happening this weekend, including some yoga as well.
Yes, we have a number of wellness events. So we have a yoga brunch bliss and a Pilates wine and cheese session in the afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, and we have some yoga even here in the yard this morning.
All right, SavourKilkenny.ie. Trish, you're going to lead us into a class now for the next minute or so. So take it away, Trish.
Thank you so much. Let's everybody at home, let's get your mats out and join us in our practice this morning. So we're going to ground first by remembering we have feet and we're not just walking heads. And we're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe into the belly and breathe out. We're going to gather the energy up from the morning, rising up to the sun, drawing down, hands in prayer pose in front of the heart. Stepping the right foot back, low lunge, gaze forward, offer your beautiful heart forward to the day. Palms down on the mat, step your left foot back into downward dog, taking a breath, breathing in, breathing out, knees to the mat, elbows tucked into the chest, dipping down and scooping up, offering your heart forward, tucking your toes under, back up into downward dog, taking a breath here. Gaze forward, tenting the right fingertips, stepping the right foot forward, again offering your heart forward to the day. Tucking your left toes under, bringing your left toes forward, half fold, inhaling up, arms up over the head, up towards the sun and drawing that light down into your heart.
Guys, absolutely beautiful. As we mentioned, SavourKilkenny. Thank you so much, Trish. Where's your studio, by the way?
I was teaching Cora Wellness and my own retreats as well. So it's trishanorton.ie and corawellness.ie as well.
Thank you so much for joining us here this morning, to all our participants. And of course, guys, that was the quickest change in history, live on air. Back to you guys in studio in Dublin.
Well done,
Deric. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Deric. Now, I was told it was going to be yoga.
Food with yoga. We have cakes.
He was literally there going, where's the food though, lads? When do we get into the food?
My favourite type of yoga ever.
Anyway, thank you so much. You can keep practicing your yoga at home. Be mindful, and we will see you very shortly on Ireland AM.
Namaste.
Nothing there.
This week on Ireland AM, we've partnered with Very to give one lucky viewer the chance to win an amazing prize. We're giving away €2,000 to shop the newly launched Carol Byrne by Very fashion collaboration, which features everything you need for the upcoming party season. From glam sequins to tailored separates and more. These are only available to shop on very.ie or on the Very app. Whether you're getting ready for a work party, date night, or family gathering, the Carol Byrne by Very collaboration has the perfect pieces to ensure you look and feel your best. For your chance to win, just answer this question. What date is Halloween traditionally celebrated on? A. 25th of December, B. 31st of October. To enter, call 1550 999 333 or text WIN to 57199. Best of luck.
There you go. Best of luck with that. We have an awful lot of texts coming through, so we're going to try and get through as many of them as we can. Talking about the school system, we were talking about that there's 1,000 teacher vacancies in schools yesterday. Today we're saying that there's 44 pupils who can't get into a school because of teacher shortages and oversubscribed schools. Eva said, my 11-year-old autistic daughter is currently in mainstream school with her twin sister, but has really been struggling. The school environment is no longer suitable for her, We've been trying to find a suitable school place for over 6 months, applied to 30 schools with still no place for her. The Special Education Needs Officer suggested I just have to homeschool while waiting for a place. The onus is always put back on the parents. Where is the government support for children with additional needs?
Homeschool, save you the job, and you just can't homeschool. It's crazy.
Like in a country like this to be thinking that your kid can't get a school place.
Just to say, the home tuition grant that has been given for these children who have to be homeschooled is only for 9 hours a week. Just to let you know.
And that's not going to be enough. I'm in Lucan. I have a 6th class pupil with additional learning needs. I've applied to 5 secondary schools in the area, but following on from my research, only 2 will meet their learning needs. I don't know what I'll do if I don't get one of these 2 schools. There's a busloads of kids ferried from Lucan to Leixlip every day as they couldn't find places in Lucan schools. And I know at least 3 children currently being homeschooled.
Oh my God.
They know 3 people being homeschooled. I didn't hear about this at all.
My son has additional needs. I managed to get him a place in an ASD class for this September. However, I had to apply to 45 different schools in order to get that one place. It was an awful experience and shouldn't have to be the case to get appropriate education for my child.
Same, Jan here. I have just seen your call out regarding the issue at secondary schools. We live in Newcastle, County Dublin, and there is no secondary school available. All surrounding areas are already oversubscribed. We've applied to 11 schools, a mix of public and private. We are bottom of the list in all of them, so we have no idea what we're going to do with her daughter next year.
Yeah, and like the home tuition, so the rules are that the tutor cannot be employed.
Well,
so
of
they
course,
can't be in full employment at the moment, but they must be registered. So the teacher shortage.
So this is what Jennifer is saying.
Yeah, she's saying that Jennifer says home tuition is near impossible to tame. One of the many rules for parents is to find a tutor who cannot be employed and must be registered. So the teacher shortage, finding a teacher who's qualified and not employment is a nightmare.
Wow.
Like anybody who has that degree wants to be in a full-time position or a position that they're in a school.
You'd assume so, because it's only now 9 hours a week that they're paying for. Honestly, they're I don't think I'm overstating the case. That is absolutely and utterly heartbreaking
just think,
for
listen,
people.
we have so much money in the country and we talk about teacher shortages all the time.
But when you talk about 9 million for phone pouches.
Yeah, well, listen, that, to be fair, could be seen as a good thing.
I know.
A good thing the parents could pay for it. It's like a school bag.
I know that the parents wouldn't in certain schools and then it would cause drama. But listen, it doesn't matter about the pouches. It matters that kids should be able to go to school.
Yeah.
And to think in a country like this that they actually can't find a place.
Yeah, to go to school.
And I think it's that nearly 50% of secondary schools in the country are oversubscribed.
And we have put a call in for Norma Foley to come in and chat to us. So we're waiting to see if she'll come in and discuss maybe some of these problems that are happening at the moment.
And thank you for taking time out of your day to let us know what's going on in your life, because it is, like, the show is here for you. So thank you so much for those messages, and we will do something more on this very shortly. We'll be back with you on Ireland AM in just a while. Hi, welcome back to Ireland AM. Now, last year saw a surge of over 1,600 applications to the Adoption Authority of Ireland by people in an effort to find members of their birth family.
Here to share his story of his adoption and the search for his birth mother is singer Paul Byrom. Good morning to you,
morning.
Paul.
Morning, Paul.
Thanks so much for coming in and talking to us about this, because you grew up knowing that you were adopted.
Yeah.
What is that like? Is that difficult?
No, so I get asked this all the time, and I did get asked it a couple of times when I was a kid. Like, I knew from the time we were born that we were, my mom and dad, we grew up in a very open house, very honest house, sometimes too honest and too open, but we definitely had there was no secrets ever in our house. And, Mom kind of ensured that we grew up kind of knowing that we were chosen. Like, she went in and chose us. When we were little kids, that's how we were kind of told. And
isn't that lovely?
Oh, it is, absolutely, yeah. And there was never a kind of like, let's keep this from them, or shrouded in mystery or whatever.
Makes you feel special though when you think you're chosen.
Yeah, it did. Sure, yeah, I still do think I'm special.
I know, the only boy in the house as well being called the chosen one.
Yeah. And so it was a nice way to kind of grow up, And I mean, even my sister told her class during the communion prep, you know, when they were doing the family tree, that she was chosen and the rest were mistakes. So that went down like a lead balloon in a nun-run school, you know. But like, it was a nice way to grow up. And because of that, then I suppose I never had an urge or a need to find anything more. You know, I felt very loved, and we got a fabulous childhood, and every opportunity I could have wanted, I got. And so I just felt very content within myself, you know.
And that is a beautiful thing. And of course, every adoptee story can be different. But for you, your parents were told about where their baby came from.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if that was a thing that was done back then. I mean, I was adopted from an agency that was operated out of the Pro Cathedral in Dublin. And, you know, when I was adopted, my mother and father got information, basic information, I suppose. And they were told that I was, you know, from very good, well-to-do people, you know, and I was born into a private nursing home, and that the girl that had me was, you know, only 16, and that, you know, they felt as a family it would be best to put me up for adoption. Right. So there was no mention of anything other than that. And so my mama was like, oh my God, that's great. Well, you know, she was very appreciative, very grateful. Yeah. And so Mom sent like photos, for example, for a good while, you know, just of my progress as I was going from baby to kind of toddler. And then that was that. And so because I suppose I had this kind of lovely notion of what I had been born into, I felt, I'm grand, sure, like, this is great. Yeah.
But those letters, those pictures that were being sent, obviously never went anywhere.
No, I've later found out that they never went anywhere.
And that's heartbreaking in a sense, I'm sure, to hear. Because tell us then how the process works then.
They lied to your parents.
Oh, 100% they did, yeah. 100% they did. And so, like, you know, I think that's the thing that angered us the most, you know. So, like, my mom was very encouraging and almost kind of pushing me to go find my birth mother in recent years. And she always kind of just used to say, Paul, will you not go try and find her? And just, you know, just let's get the full circle of what happened. And more than anything else, just to thank her. And I suppose as the kind of the decades went by, you know, you turn 30 and you go, I wonder, does she think of me? And then you'd go to 40 and I was like, oh, which is surprising to many of you that I've hit 40. But yeah, so like when I hit 40, I was like, you know, I wonder, you know, is she still around? What's the story there? And I kind of, more than anything else, I wanted her to know that I was happy and that I was in a good place in life, and that I was very grateful. And that she had absolutely nothing to feel guilty about. Okay. Because I can only imagine what it must be like to go through the process. I think a lot of people don't give it a huge amount of thought, really, how hugely difficult it must be to make that decision to put your child up to adopt. And so to be born then into such a wonderful family, I had nothing but love and gratitude for this lady. And so I really wanted to find her and make sure that she wasn't living life full of guilt.
So how did the process start?
It was a bit of a relaxed process for me. I mean, I just sent in, back in 2021, I just sent an application to the Adoption Authority of Ireland. You go online, you just fill it out, and it seemed pretty straightforward, and that was fine. And then I discovered that nothing's straightforward in Ireland. In October, then I got like an email saying that I had to get documents signed by a guard to verify me and get me approved for the application. So this went on, and then I was handed over to Tusla, and then Tusla went looking, and then I'd hear nothing for months on end, and then I'd follow up, and then this went back and forth for quite a while. And then I got the basic information sent to me, and it was at that point I realised things weren't as they seemed. And like literally a 2-page document with very minimal information on it came through, which said that I was born into a mothers and babies home, which came as a massive shock. I didn't think mothers and babies homes were kind of still operating in '79. I mean, we grew up knowing Christine Buckley. Christine was a wonderful woman, and she obviously shed a lot of light on Golden Bridge and the likes of. And so I always just assumed it was that generation, and it was just somebody else's, you know. I was born into a nursing home. And of course, as soon as I discovered that, then the urgency kicked in. I was like, I need to find this girl who was now a woman, but and I needed to find out the truth.
And Paul, I can just imagine, because the things that are coming out about mother and baby homes over the past decade have been horrific. And we've had, you know, babies being taken, babies being sold to America. When you did meet your birth mother, what happened to her?
Well, I mean, it took a while to get to that point, and then eventually I actually met on my birthday in 2023. And I had Googled St. Patrick's. As soon as I heard, I Googled St. Patrick's, and you're like, dear God, they like sell babies to Americans here. You know, how was I not sold to Americans? And how did it come about? I couldn't understand what had happened. So when I met her, I mean, lovely, lovely lady. As soon as I walked into the room, she kind of said, "Oh my God, I reminded her immediately of a relative of hers." And, you know, very softly spoken, very pragmatic, black and white kind of person. You know, there was no frills or thrills. It was a very honest and open conversation. And she just asked me straight off, "Did you ever get the orange teddy bear I left in your cot for you? It was a little dog." And I said, "No." And then I asked her, "Did she get the photos?" And she said, "No." And my sister had actually made a little photo album of when I was a baby right through to being, you know, present day, so that we could look through it together. And as she looked at it, she came to my mom and she just put her hand on my mom and she said, that's the life I wanted for you. So she was very grateful. And, you know, me in turn, I was very grateful to her, you know, and we're very grateful to her. And, you know, it was a very emotional thing. I mean, she only got a couple of hours with me, and she walked from the labour ward back to the mothers and babies home on her own. And I was just left. And she thought I was going the next day to a family. And I was left for 3 weeks in that ward.
You were just left.
So what happened? So she gave birth and just had to go off on her own. And then a layperson working there brought her to you for what?
Yeah, well, so the layperson kind of brought me into her to see her before she left the ward. And she said, all I remember, I had a couple of hours with you, and she said, all I remember is your little hand on my thumb. And that was it.
For the rest of her life.
That was it.
And just hoped that you would keep that orange teddy.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking, and she had filed to, you know, her interest in meeting me 16 years previous to mine. But of course, she had no power in that element, you know, and so she had to wait until I got the ball rolling, you know. And then when I was told there was a match, I then subsequently get a 20-page document sent out to me from like the Freedom of Information Department or something, saying you need to fill this out in order for us to start the process. I'm like, sorry, what? I was like, this is ludicrous. So I rang up and
But hold on, you were told there is a match. Like they knew who your birth mother was.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Yeah. That was another department, of course.
Bye-bye, go away,
That's
and here we go, we're going to do this over.
Look at this department.
You must have been ready to scream the place down.
Well, I did.
Oh, you did?
So, like, I'm a lovely person on television, but I can often be angry. And so...
the tenor voice came out.
Yeah, and look, at that stage I was frustrated and I was angry, and all the lies were coming, you know, to the fore. And I suppose the whole point of this, is there's lots of people out in the country that are doing the same as me right now and are hemming and hawing about it. And I was half-hearted initially, and I suppose if it had been quite complicated as it proved to be, I could have easily got, you know, just forget it, you know, can't be arsed. So, you know, I'd say to people to hang tight and to go for it. And like, I really want this to be a positive thing for people, you know, because my story has ended well. I've a lovely relationship with my birth mother. My mom is still mom. She will always be mom. And in fairness to my birth mother, she was like, if that attitude ever changes, I'll give you a kick in the arse. So mom is mom.
Did she know who you were?
Yeah,
she knew of me, which is gas. Like, so she knew of Paul Byrom, so to speak, and and so she never put two and two together. No, she says absolutely not.
Right.
So that brings up the whole nature and nurture thing,
weird,
isn't it? Yeah, because
isn't
my
it?
mom is very musical, like plays the piano, and I grew up in a musical house, and again, I was very lucky because I had the musical ability. If I had been born into another family that was, let's say, Tommy's family, a big sporting family or something, I would have ended up being
playing for Ireland now.
Well, I don't think, Tommy, you haven't seen me.
Johnny
I was
Sexton.
the only rugby player in Backer College that came off the pitch in clean rugby gear.
We all do a bit of singing after a rugby match too. I tell you what, you would have found your way. It's an amazing story.
It is,
and it is. You know, such a happy ending, but at the same time, such a heartbreak and difficult times for, I'm sure, your birth mum, yourself.
Well, it was, but I think the lies that was the heartbreaking part. But now we're in a point where it's like, you know, we've got the answers. You can be angry, you can carry anger, you can look for answers, you can look for people to blame. Look, there's people that have gone through a hell of a lot worse than I will ever go through, and they never got answers and they never got anybody accountable. And that is the shame of the Catholic Church. That's on them. It's not on us to carry. And so you move forward with positivity, but I do say to anybody that's out there, you know, if you're looking or thinking of looking for your birth mother, and every story is different, obviously, but the comfort that you can give to somebody that put a child up for adoption by finding them and just letting them know that you're okay is immeasurable. And I couldn't suggest it enough. It mightn't always end well. I will say that. I don't want to be saying it mightn't always end well, but you know what? It's better known than not known. So that's why I would kind of be on here this morning suggesting it.
Amazing.
Paul, thank you so much, honestly.
Yeah, big shout out.
Yes,
I'm doing
we do
Dads
have
and
it.
Dolls.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I have to promote.
Well,
go.
The National Concert Hall, November 6th until the 9th.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're going to be doing carols by candlelight in Monkstown Church on the 21st.
And I don't even have to come in and sing for you this time.
We might get you in,
It's only October, Paul.
I love the jumper.
It's only October.
Matchy.
It's
Thank
lovely
you
to have you.
It's
so
lovely
much,
to be here. Thank you.
Honestly.
Pleasure.
If you do want to find out more, paulbyron.ie. Paul, thanks so much for coming and
Cheers.
sharing your story. Really appreciate it.
The world's a vampire. Do certain friends leave you feeling drained when you meet them? Do coffee catch-ups become therapy sessions? Well, an emotional vampire could be sucking the joy out of you.
Oh, Jane, my God. Here to explain what an emotional vampire is and help us defang the monster is clinical psychologist Dr Tara Logan Buckley. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning.
What exactly is an emotional vampire?
Absolutely. So there are people that you find yourself in social interactions with where afterwards you are feeling emotionally and mentally drained. And you could also be left feeling maybe stressed, maybe feeling negative yourself. You might be feeling a little bit confused. You might be feeling disappointed. So just not feeling yourself afterwards and really feeling, where is my energy gone?
So what are the traits then of an emotional vampire?
So there's various ones. Not all of them will have all, but some of the things are, ever hear those people who are just always kind of the victim? And no matter, they don't take accountability. Poor me, it's always someone else's fault. You've got people as well where they're always negative. So no matter what you do, everything is negative. They criticise absolutely everything. They want to be the centre of attention, quite egotistical. So they're kind of some of the traits that we see, kind of very much like, if we think about your classic narcissistic traits or narcissism in general, they're people who drain you because what they want is all of your energy without giving anything back.
Is there an element of one-upmanship? You know, if you say, oh God, I broke my finger, they'd be like, well, my hand fell off. Like, is that a thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
right.
what they always have to do better. So
right.
That's it. They always have to be one ahead. As you said, like, if you went to Tenerife, they went to 11erife, for example.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I suppose we could all be guilty of that to some extent ourselves. Like, we'd all go, oh, how are you? Oh, geez, wait till I tell you now. Like, you know, we're all a bit guilty of that sometimes. Is that just, that's not being an emotional vampire?
It's not. So if we think about it, when we think about relationships, they should be a mutual, kind of like 50-50 in it. It's a give and take. Obviously, if someone's upset, if they're going through a breakup, if they've had loss or grief, if they're suffering maybe with some anxiety or maybe low mood, then obviously they're going to rely on their friends and family a little bit more. And then what will happen is when that period shifts, it will come back. These people are people where it is intense and it's consistent all of the time.
And I assume subconsciously done, like you're not going out there to be this way, are you?
Or is it?
It can vary. Some people, I think, because a lot of them lack a lot of emotional awareness and a lot of kind of like emotional maturity and insight. So for some people, it is at a subconscious level. They don't know. For other people, it can be. And then what they do is they just move on to a new energy source. But there are a lot of things, for example, it can come from a place of absolute chronic insecurity and self-esteem issues. It can come from a place of learned behaviour from family. So if you grew up in a household where actually you had to be very loud and you had to kind of show your own needs and make sure they're met all of the time by doing whatever way you can, like manipulation, if we think about it, then that's learned. It can come from unresolved trauma, unresolved pain. A fear of abandonment can be a thing as well. So people rely and try to kind of get you all of the time for attention and to get stuff from you because they're so afraid that they leave you. And for them, that's how they think they can keep you and be attached to you as well. So it's really complex. There's various emotional, psychological and social factors as to why someone might be this way.
And I suppose we've all been in situations where we've left, say, a coffee date and going, God, I'm exhausted after that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're literally going, I'm exhausted after that. And it probably does affect then families and friendships and relationships.
Absolutely, without a doubt. We tend to kind of see it more as we move into our 30s. I think for our 20s, you know, we might be the life and the soul of the party. Our priorities in life might be a little bit different. So if you got these people out and they're always the centre of attention, as you move into your 30s where things change and you really start to become more aware, you've your self-identity done, you're learning and developing yourself with your own emotional intelligence and your own emotional awareness, you will then start to notice people actually, they're not on the same trajectory as me. They don't seem to have the same input or, I suppose, insight to themselves. So we do see that there is a shift into your 30s and unfortunately, it does impact friendships and relationships.
Because I suppose when you've got a lot more people clawing at your time as you get older, whether it is from relationships or children or work or parents or responsibilities, you kind of have to pick and choose, well, you know, I'll meet you on Friday. And some days, if you've got to gear yourself up, you're like, I can't be dealing with it. Like, that's what happens?
Absolutely, because you have to protect your own energy. As you said, look at all the different things that change in your life as you get older. And also, it gives you time to notice the patterns as well of this person. Because you might be taking a step back and actually realise, okay, well, in one social situation we're in, they were always like this. However, now that we're meeting in different social situations, it's actually the exact same. Or with social media, actually, I notice the posts they put up on social media, this is the exact same as the interactions that I meet with them in person. So it's actually, this is how they are consistently across the board.
So how do you solve that then? Do you actually, I know confront is a bad, but do you talk to the person about it and go, I'm just feeling you're a bit negative, you're sucking the life out of me, and if this doesn't change, I don't think we can be friends or partners anymore?
It can be good, but it can also be bad.
Oh God,
because what can happen is you
ghost or put up with it once a month. I know, wouldn't that be hard to say to someone though?
No, well,
maybe.
No, if they're very good friends and you're just feeling, oh my God, come on, lads.
Okay. I think it depends on the friendship. I think you need to kind of take a step back and look at it. For example, if you're dealing with someone who's emotionally manipulative, I would be saying don't have that conversation because you're going to become the villain in the story for them. And then all of a sudden that's going to give them something additional to talk to other people about and to keep that cycle going. So I would say, how important is the friendship to you? I would start with setting boundaries. So remember, as you kind of said with yourself, as in actually I can only meet you on a certain day at a certain amount of time.
For 20 minutes.
For 20 minutes, yeah, absolutely. But this is actually how we do it. We literally set boundaries with people. We detach ourselves from them emotionally. So it's like, let's say it's someone who's always sick and they're always, every time they text, you know, if you have a headache, they have a migraine. Instead of actually feeding into that and giving them support and telling them what to do, just say, very sorry to hear that. So close all of there's no open-ended questions with them. Kind of like, I love the grey rock method. I'm not too sure if you know that.
No, what's that?
So the grey rock method is the best way because you're not giving them anything to feed off. So you become as interesting as talking to literally a grey rock.
Okay.
Yeah, so
very easy for me.
So it's a really good one because you're giving no emotion to them. You're not giving them anything about your day. You're not feeding them with any sort of anything. And what happens is they slowly actually detach from you. Because if you're their energy source and you're not giving it to them,
they're going, I'll move on to somebody else.
I love that. Yeah.
And can people who do this all the time, can they unlearn that or will they get better? Or is it just, if you're like that, you're always going to be like that?
It depends on how much insight you have. So if you can take a step back, or if you have a friend who's had that conversation with you and you take a step back and go, okay, actually, I have noticed this is a pattern. I'm losing more friends or family members, or this is said to me. So you can. It definitely takes time and effort. And it also depends on why is the reason, what's the underlying reason that you are like this. So I would always say you have to obviously look at your own personal growth. You have to kind of look at improving your emotional intelligence, your awareness, being able to be more self-sufficient, therapy and really looking at those under causes about why am I behaving this way.
It's very interesting,
It's
isn't
very
it?
interesting.
So if Miriam's saying, I can only meet you for coffee for 20 minutes once a month.
That'll be everyone. Everyone, I'm the pothole. They're like, I'm not going anywhere near her. Dr Tara Logan Buckley, clinical psychologist, thank you so much for joining us today. I was expecting him to also start biting me neck, knowing you with an emotional vampire.
Thank you so much. Now, people have gotten images of their pets put on cups, key rings, and even pillows. Well, now we can go one further because they're going onto beautiful furry rugs.
Those cats are so big, it's amazing. We're going to be talking with a TikTok rug making sensation, a sentence I never thought I'd say in my life. Talk to you in a minute.
You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest has garnered a substantial fan base online because of her unique skills.
Yes, and here to demonstrate the art of making the perfect rug, or is it called tufting, is TikTok and rug maker Nicole O'Reilly. Good morning to you.
Hi, Nicole.
Is it tufting?
Yeah, tufting, yeah.
Good morning to you. So tell us how you started in this, how you started making these fabulous rugs.
It was just, I seen a TikTok online and I thought it looked fun. And I already had yarn at home because I'm a knitter. So I was like, if I just buy the machine, I can start teaching myself how to do it. So that's how it started. I didn't know it would turn into this though.
So is this the machine? Is this, well, this is what you put it on the frame.
Very
so tell us
homemade.
about the machine. I think we have some pictures of the machine working.
Yeah,
so what is it? Tell us about it.
It looks kind of like a drill. It's called an AKDO tufting gun. It looks a little bit like a drill and it basically just pushes, as you can see here, it's like tufted out. So it pushes, I work from the back to the front.
There you are there doing on it.
And it
so
will,
it's, yeah.
it will push it from the back out into the front. And then
But like
magic.
If you're only doing that, how are you getting so much detail in it then?
Well, I don't know, it takes a while. I use a lot of colours. Like I'd say this one has like nearly 100, which you mightn't see like when you're far away, but when you're close up, you can definitely tell.
It's amazing. Did you have a background in art, or what was your background before getting into this?
So I studied fashion design in NCAD, and then I went into knitwear. So I specialised in knitwear. So it just kind of snowballed from there.
And it was just through a TikTok that you saw and you thought,
just
you know what, I'm going to give that a go.
Yeah, no, exactly, just through TikTok.
Wow. And is it easy? Is it something that you would encourage other people to try?
Like, I think it's easy.
No, because then it's competition.
Well, that's
no,
true.
No, there's room for everyone.
Not as a business, but as just to do at home.
No, I think it's like, once you have the technical side down, like it's a little bit frustrating at the start because you're doing it and you're wondering what you're doing wrong, but a lot of trial and error. And then, yeah, I think it's easy enough.
So we saw it there, so it goes through the back then, is it?
Yeah.
So then you have to keep coming around and looking at it and going, or is there a mirror? Do you do it in front of a mirror?
That's actually a really good idea for a viewer, but no, I literally just lift the frame back and forth and I go around it.
Now, there you go. A mirror in front of it so you can keep looking at it going. Because, I mean, obviously you need to see how the face is forming.
Yeah, exactly.
How the eyes are forming and everything.
Yeah. So I work, back to front, so it's a little bit confusing sometimes.
We can see animals is obviously very popular, but I love this. So this is Dermot Kennedy.
Yeah, that one's of Dermot Kennedy.
Obviously you're a bit of a fan of Dermot Kennedy, but like, look at that. It is incredible,
so did he see
detail.
This?
I don't think so.
How... Like, that's the amount of work. How long would something like this take?
Well, no, that one took a lot longer than the ones that I'm used to making, because obviously I have a lot more practice in dogs, so that one took a few months to finish.
Like, it's unbelievable, isn't
it?
I mean, and the level of detail that goes into it. I mean, how many even colours and different types of yarn?
I have no idea. I definitely lost track on that one.
Because when you're looking in his eyes, you actually think he's looking at you, so you have put little dots and little parts of it.
Yeah.
So it's just accentuates.
There's probably about 30 colours just in one eye.
30
Yeah,
colours.
I'd say so. But they're all very similar, just to add shade and stuff.
And this is a business now then, is it? So do you take commissions from people?
I do. I take commissions. I mainly take them through Instagram or TikTok or email. They find me over.
What sort of costs, like for instance, say one of your dog here?
My pet portraits start at $240, but it changes depending on like the size and the complexity and like depending on how many pets.
This one here is a commission.
Yeah, but this one's a gift, so we can't say how much that one costs.
All right, no, but that means
that's a commission.
So people can send you pictures of like their dogs, their cats, and you will actually.
No, these are all people's actual pets. So this is a memorial piece from Ochi. This is Tank the bulldog. That one's Indy. Like there's Riley.
These cats that we're seeing on screen now as well. Like this is actually going to Japan, isn't it? I mean, so this
one's not finished now. This one has a lot more to do with the back.
Still does it. And like, can we ask you, is there an awful lot more? Because this will be totally covered, will it?
No, so it's going to stay in the circle shape. So it'll just finish, but it looks like it's more finished than it is because the yarn kind of like spreads out once.
Okay, but there's still a good bit of work to do on this.
Yeah, it's about 80% done. Yeah.
Okay, and then you just roll it up like you'd roll a rug, and it gets sent away.
Yeah, well, I have to like trim them down and carve them and then glue them, and then I'll send them off. Yeah.
We see some carpets can cost huge amounts of money. Like the level of detail, can you scale up the detail, scale down it, or is it all kind of the same?
Definitely. Well, the yarn itself is kind of like the same size, so obviously you can't do a tiny, tiny rug. But I'd say around this size is probably the smallest you could do to get a good detail in, without it looking a bit muddy.
And like on TikTok, whenever you saw this, like, is it a big thing? Is rug making quite a trending thing?
Well, it is to me, but no, I can't find anyone else who's doing it. Yeah, so I thought everyone was doing it.
This is good then, if you're the only one on TikTok who's doing it. And we must have to say
no, definitely not the only one.
It's Nicole O'Reilly Design.
Yeah, Nicole O'Reilly
Design. And that's how people can find you. Because I'm
Instagram
looking at
and
this
TikTok.
behind you here. Was this for a wedding?
Yeah, this is a custom piece for Jessica and Wes for their wedding. So that's all parts of their like wedding venue. So we put them all together and we designed that together.
And would you do faces of the couple as well?
I could. Well, I would try it now. I've only done 2 people portraits so far, so just did Dermot and Kendrick, so I don't know if I'd be doing
Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I did Kendrick. That one's over in London now at the moment.
So tell us about that.
That went to his photographer's studio in London.
Wow.
And why did you do him?
It's just a really cool photo. I thought it was cool.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
It really is. And how long would that have taken you approximately?
That one now as well took a few months to make, I'd say. I'm just not so used to making the people at the moment.
It's unbelievable. Do you have a favourite to do? Do you prefer doing people, animals?
No, I love doing the animals. One, because I love animals, so sometimes I get to meet the animals as well when I deliver the rugs. But I do really like doing people at the moment, just because I haven't done it before, so it's a little bit different. And it's kind of challenging, so that's why I like doing that.
Isn't it great that you can go and create something that you're really interested in, turn it into a business as well?
It really is great. And as we said, it's Nicole O'Reilly Design, and they are fantastic. And thank you so much for coming in and showing us this morning.
Thanks very much, Nicole. Really appreciate it.
We'll get you on a rug next week.
Like I know that my fellow will be terrified because I want all the cats.
That's so cool. The level of detail. Anyway, Nicole, thank you so much. Now, coming up on tomorrow's Ireland AM, investigative journalist Nicola Tallant is going to be telling us about her latest book on organised crime.
Former supermodel Ruth Critty chats about life in the fashion industry during the naughty naughties.
Plus Deric visits the Cork Jazz Festival.
Weekend.
Yay!
Cool.
We're live from 7. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.